Hi, everybody. So this is new to me because this is the very first interview through Zoom that I'm recording. So I hope it all works. And today in today's show, we have Roman Christian Hafner from Europe. And a lot of you already know Roman, and he will certainly introduce himself. But just so you know, he's very, very special in that he was already born with abilities that most of us wish we had. But at the time when he was so young, he experienced that it was so different from everybody else. So it was a very interesting way to grow up. And in today's world now, he's a well-known healer all over Europe. People know him very well. And also in the US, a lot more people are starting to get to know him because of his phenomenal abilities to see energy fields and to see frequencies and to also move them around. So it's not that he can just see that, he can really also work with all of these energies. And today it's just a brief introduction of Roman, and we want to talk a little bit about all that and his abilities. So Roman, welcome to the show.
Hello, Philip, and that is in the show with you, and we will see what happens now.
Sounds great. And just for all of you, the way we've discussed, we do this first video is that I will ask all the questions in English and Roman will answer in German, even though his English is pretty good, but he has no time to practice. So that's why we're doing it in German, and we will then introduce subtitles in English for that. So Roman, could you please tell us how did this happen that you noticed the first time about your special abilities and how was that? And then how did it develop from there?
When I was a child, it happened that I realized that I always differently than all other children or the people around me, even in the family. And only then I was able to learn that this is really a different perception, a different way of seeing what I see, because I was seeing everything in energy form, in motion, in fields. And I had to first learn, then focus, to be able to see this reality that most see as real. First, to understand that it exists, and then to be able to see it.
That is very exciting and so new. And what did you talk to other friends in your age about that at any time? And what were the reactions?
It's interesting. Most of them didn't understand what I was saying because no one could even understand what I was seeing. When I say to someone, oh, your stomach is full, or you're just eating too much, and there's something strange about it, then everyone looked at me at one point and said, well, what is he actually talking about? Because I say, look at the belly. It looks so full. It looks so fascinating. And it has so many different colors. And then, yeah, sure, he's kind of crazy now, and like in some other movie. And it was only when I understood what they were seeing, really, that I realized that, of course, they don't see anything the way I see. And of course, it was different. So they couldn't really do it.
Wow. I mean, that is a very, very interesting story. And then, we have heard this, we know that when we're born that we still have this very deep connection, and then we start to lose it right over time through lots of different things, but it didn't happen to you. And so when was like the first time where you noticed that, or where other people maybe even noticed, well, this ability is extremely useful because it can even help us identify maybe an illness or sickness or what to do with it? When did you or someone else notice that the first time?
So quite exciting because, of course, when a visitor came to us or people came to us and then sometimes just talked out and spoke, then they saw that right at the end, it touched them deeply. And on the one hand, they didn't want to hear it. But then, of course, they saw wow, he says something which is perhaps quite good, because of course I've always seen the illness immediately in the people, and that was then unpleasant for them, but then of course helpful. And then, of course, my parents went with me to various experts who then examined me in all directions, in the European research centers and so on. And then, of course, it came out that I naturally see very differently and see much more than everyone else. And then it came into being. Exactly.
Fascinating. And then I know this story already, but I think our listeners would be very interested in that as well. The story about you as the 11-year-old and Kurt Tepperwein. So Kurt Tepperwein, for the ones that are not from Europe, most Europeans probably know Kurt Tepperwein. He's a old guru, if you will. He's been in the, energetic world a lot, and he has given seminars for hundreds and thousands of people over decades in Germany. And I think Roman can maybe now tell us a little bit about that.
Right, that was very exciting. I then went to this seminar by Kurt Tepperwein, who was a life coach or something like that at the time. And it was about really discovering oneself. And my parents took me there because I was 11 years old. And then I asked him, where could it bring me? And then he looked at me. Nothing at all. I will only learn from you, and so will everyone else. Then we do such great 3 weeks where they now learn from me. And then I was every day for an hour or more standing in front. And everyone asked me questions. There were over 300 people there, where all the time I just answered and said anything I could, whatever questions there were, from physical to spiritual. And of course, there was then really a lot that happened there. And of course, he was very enthusiastic. He had some concerns about this, of course, but obviously people have seen that I had so much knowledge and could do so much at the age of 11 that he was very excited above all.
Wonderful. That I bet that was pretty touching and a little bit confusing almost for those 300 people that were there as well. But that's amazing, and especially as an 11-year-old, wow. So I wanted to get a little bit into how you see the change in the world, because obviously when you were a kid, this 11-year-old at the time, the world was completely different and as it is today, obviously. And at least from my perspective, it feels like that a lot more people, more and more people each year are open to these energy worlds and are trying to rediscover that there's a lot more than, the physical things we can touch. And how do you observe this, and how does that make you feel?
So the current times are very interesting. Over the years, it has become more and more the case now that people are becoming more conscious, that they are just really starting to come into their own consciousness or are doing a lot to learn about consciousness. And it is really now currently the strongest phase where people wake up and, of course, also enable their skills. But also more and more they realize that they themselves are in the end the most important thing and create out of themselves. So this is really a very strong phase at the moment where people are finally starting to come into consciousness. Actually, not all into consciousness, though, but really into the development for themselves, but for mankind itself as well.
That is certainly great to hear. And what do you tell people that say, yeah, I know you all talk about we're all waking up, but still I see these millions and maybe billions of people that are still sleeping and they don't get it, and I don't see anybody is waking up from them on one hand, and then on the other hand, certainly a somewhat difficult time where a lot of control and limitations are imposed on everyday people, where one could also say, well, we're not becoming more free, but we're all becoming more tight. So what do you tell those people? And is this maybe a time that will end soon, or is it going to get worse until it gets better?
So the moment is really this limiting or bringing the people more and more under control. It's more or less the last phase to really hold and control again the people who have not yet come into consciousness. But this will not last because people constantly influence each other and remind each other again and again that they have their consciousness and really go into the appearance. And then reality comes into being and then the system collapses. And in what form that it will be and in what extent, you can see that, but it will certainly come soon, or at some point it will come at the speed that we do not expect at all, because the people are that much in their consciousness then, and it becomes so clear that in the end they can live only on freedom. And then freedom really comes out in everyone of itself. And then there's no more restrictions or no more barriers for consciousness, but also for people themselves in their own lives.
That sounds very, 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 very encouraging and promising, because I think there's so many people out there that wish for more freedom, inner freedom, and freedom in the outside world. And in some ways, if you're already woken up to some extent, it's sometimes a little hard to see also what's going on. So I think that will be a great message for a lot of people. So what do you suggest that people do? You know, there's people that don't have the ability that you have, that can see what is happening, or they're often just inside this whole thing and then they can't take this step back. So what can they do to get through this time easier?
So what's very important is that people who are so really stuck in the system actually don't have a view of how to get out, that they realize that first of all, they have their aliveness, a physical body that is absolutely real. And with their aliveness, which they already have a joy just by being alive. The fact that people really start to focus on the true, the real, is not a reduction, but actually, in the end, an awakening in oneself to perceive, to say, wow, I'm alive, I'm living, I'm in my aliveness. And with that, I can feel, perceive, and live joy in every moment, no matter what the outside world is doing and no matter in which process the outside world is. And when you go in there, you have an enormous strength for yourself.
Super. That sounds great. And I encourage everybody to listen to these words, maybe even a few times, and because there's so much wisdom in that. So in terms of trying to understand what is the truth, that is another topic which is being presented to us all over the place, right? There's the mainstream media with their narrative. Then you have a lot of like fake alternative media on the complete other side that's also talking their weird narrative. And then you have the truth somewhere in between. And we get so much information about every topic, and you get like 1,000 different messages from 1,000 different people, and people get so confused. Okay, who can I believe now? What can I trust? This is right, this is wrong, or maybe it's the opposite. What can you tell people what to do, how they can feel for themselves? What is actually, where's the truth? How do they do that?
So, in order to really get back to your truth, it is important that you first perceive yourself again in real terms, that is, to see what needs you have, whether they have been created externally or whether you really have them yourself. You have to look at what emotions you have, what you react to, whether you really only react to the outside world or to the emotion that you create in the moment. And if we go more and more there deep into what is really important for us, and we then suddenly feel that quite a lot of abruptly falls away because we have accepted an infinite number of offers from the outside and mostly no longer leave anything of ourselves, And we then begin to take more and more life out of ourselves because we then realize all these offers are not really for me. They are actually imposed on me. What I must eat, what I must not drink, how I move, what I move, which car I drive, which pen I need, no matter what. Everything is controlled from the outside, which clothes I wear. In the end, when you realize that everything is mostly made by the media and even life, and the way you have to live, rich, poor, anyhow. And then you become aware, and when you perceive all these offers, and then look at what is left, then you have completely reached yourself. Then you realize, even in the esoteric world, among people who do a lot of spiritual stuff, they're also with so much fear and with so much, you have to do something, you really have to. So in the end, it's not about doing anything at all. It's really just about looking at where I live, in what condition, and what's all there, and what's really for me. And the moment you start to do that, you start to live your truth, because then you start to think about the joy in itself again, that you're alive. And then it's very easy to do that.
Super. So this was, again, that was a very long, almost lecture, if you will, for this specific topic. And I encourage everybody to listen to that a couple times, because really I've found over the years with what Roman says, there's so much wisdom in these words. And sometimes if you listen to him like 3 times, the third time you start to hear something that you didn't hear the first time. So maybe you want to try that out. Okay, so we said that this is a whole series of interviews. The first one we wanted to keep relatively short to also introduce everybody. And I would like to end this with one question, and that would be, okay, so for the next, let's say, 3, 4, 5 weeks, is there any message you have for the people in terms of what maybe happens? What is the energy of the time, and maybe something specific that they should maybe focus on?
The next future will be very exciting because there are a lot of energy fields that question the reality we see, but also activate the consciousness by starting to control life more and more, to give up control and see what really moved out of us. The exciting thing will be that in the next future, energetically, it will also happen that a lot of old things that we have already lived appear, but have no meaning for us at all. That is, we can no longer even perceive the past as real and as an emotion, but really just live the moment. And it will become clearer and clearer and more intense over the next few weeks. And we will suddenly realize, wow, we are in moments, and of course we will perceive that very differently. And then, of course, many things will change.
That sounds fantastic. And now I have one last question. Actually, and I already know the answer, but it's interesting for the people here that especially speak English. So will we offer another webinar in the near future for the English-speaking community?
Definitely.
That sounds great. Roman, I thank you very, very much for your time. I know you're very busy, and we'll have you back very soon. Thank you for everything that you do for the world, for the people, for this current time. And thanks for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you very much, Philip.
Okay, bye.
Bye.